Hey guys, it's Matt. Let's talk a bit about stalled century. I believe stalled century is related to how there's a lack of creativity, if you want to put it like that. There can be no good new music, movies, etc. And I guess one could say if things are in the process of being destroyed, every sport is getting worse, everything is being destroyed. How can you have a creative process that happens during a destructive phase? So let's just do this quickly. If I do too much screen capture, my entire Mac will lock up and it'll take about 18 hours to make this video. So I just want to go through these tabs with you quickly. Then when talking over still frames, the brand new Mac is actually able to handle that. So stalled century. These people come in and they never leave. The reality is unnatural. It unnaturally gives itself away. It has characteristics that would not be normal in any kind of like, quote, real world. So Nancy Pelosi is 82, just keeps coming around. Everybody around you and your cousin thinks that's just completely normal. Stalled century. Henry Kissinger, not very active anymore, but part of stalled century is nobody dies. Not nobody dies, but these certain people, like, they don't die, and they still will come around every so often. Like, we haven't heard that Henry Kissinger is sitting on a beach for 20 years. He'll pop up, not as much as others. And this is the only reason I'm showing this is he's 99, I believe, 99. Part of stalled century is nobody dies if you're this type of entity. Okay, it's not the same as you and me. I don't know what these things are. Queen is 96. Greg and I estimate 40% of the world population has come and gone, and all they've ever known in their entire lifetime is Queen Elizabeth on the throne. Nothing ever changes in stalled century. The same themes, the same people. Jimmy Carter, I believe, is 97. Again, doesn't come back in your face all the time, but this is part of the stalled century theme of I'm changing it from nobody ever dies to these entities don't die. I don't know what they are. Warren Buffett. Now, most of them are still active. He's, I don't know. Let me scroll down and see what he is. He is 91. Okay, I thought he was older. I think I asked Greg about that. He's like, I thought he'd be 95 or so. But the point is, for a lot of these guys, they're still active. He's still the CEO of this mega billion-dollar company, Berkshire Hathaway. So it's unnatural that these people in their 90s don't want to just go off and be left alone. Don't want to just go off. I want to go off and sit on the beach and be left alone. I mean, it's not the real person would want to do that after they accomplish certain things in their lives. This type of entity, whether it be louche, it's not just limelight and they crave attention. Maybe they need the energy to survive or they would cease to exist. Who knows what these entities are? But they can, just like we know Zuck the Borg, he'll never leave that role. If he does, it'll be like Gates. Gates went off. Oh, Ballmer was CEO. No, he wasn't. Gates never, he said he was leaving. Putin said he was leaving. Nothing, they don't leave. They can't leave. But if Gates could have said his new, he's a hot dog vendor somewhere, he still was just as involved with Microsoft. You know he was. So if somebody wants to point out to me that they're going to go off and change their title, well, it doesn't mean anything because we saw from Putin and all the rest, they don't really leave. George Soros is 91, still active, running around. Hey, George, don't you want to just like relax, dude? I mean, what are you people? People's not even the right word. Mitch McConnell, these people like Nancy Pelosi, just keeps coming around the mountain. Just keeps, after almost 50 years in some form of politics, don't you just want to just go read a book or something? Just go down to the library, get out all the seasons of Seinfeld and just watch them and relax. And I mean, the old excuses, guys, of these people they're like you and me, Matt. They're just regular people, but they crave the limelight, and that it doesn't work anymore. It's unnatural. This doesn't happen. It's only possible if these are not the same type of entity that you and I are. It's also part of the general theme that plays out in this reality of stalled century. Everything that can be stalled out is being stalled out. Greg reminded me of Strom Thurmond, who didn't leave Congress until age 100. He's been dead a while now, but was actually in Congress at age 100. Who would want to be? It doesn't work anymore. Matt, they crave the limelight. No, that doesn't work anymore. Maybe this entity needs to be in the public eye, for the loosh to survive, to exist in some way. Nobody would choose to be in Congress at age 85 or 90. It just wouldn't. Nobody real, that is. Vanna White, turning letters for 40 years. And I'm going to mention Greg a lot because we just talked about this in depth for at least an hour. And a lot of times when Greg and I get deep into stuff, it ends up being a video like it is now. And I said to Greg, we both kind of agreed. I said, do you think if she wanted, let's say 10 years ago, Vanna said, I've had enough and I want to stop. Do you think she could stop? And we both were like, she's 64, by the way, 40 years turning letters, or they just light up now and she just touches them. And both of us were like, I don't think she can leave. What does that mean exactly? I don't know. Is that a deal with the devil? I don't know. But both of us were like, if we had to pick, we're not sure, but it seems like she can't leave. Or 5 years ago, she said, I've had enough of this. And they would say to her, you don't have a say in this. That's potentially, nobody would turn letters for 40 years in their 60s. They go on the road, Wheel of Fortune. They do Chicago's top and Las Vegas. It goes on the road, living in hotel rooms. Nobody would, with $400 million in the bank, you wouldn't do this. 10 years ago, she would have said, I've had enough. I want to do certain things on my bucket list. I want to relax. It's unnatural. Okay, I'm saying the same things, I guess. Ron Paul pops up every so often. How old is he? How old is this fraud? 86. Again, maybe it's just me. Once people, like my grandfather retired from U.S. Steel at about 65. And all he did, he grew tomatoes in the backyard and was happy as a clam reading his Shakespeare. Regular people are satisfied. They can go off and work on themselves and be by themselves, and they don't need this artificial limelight. Jim Cramer is pushing, 2005, so in 2025, in 3 years, it'll be 20 years. 20 years of this stalled century, with him yelling out "booyah" on his stocks and hitting his stupid buttons. 20 years of that bullshit. In any normal world, you could see that show lasting 3 or 4 years, maybe. It's just not possible in any real world. Bullshit like this could just keep coming and coming. Larry Kudlow, okay, how old is he? 74. So at age 68 or whatever it was, he's 60. He's on the Trump administration doing something. Matt, if it's all fake, the administrations, he didn't do anything. I agree. He didn't. All he did was just appear in front of a camera and stuff. All this stuff, any financial decision is decided probably by the Whopper computer. I hear you. But 74. So then after he goes into an administration and that fake puppet role, at some point, like a real person's not going to be like, you know what? I have a house in the Florida Keys and I just want to relax, But now he's back on Fox. Unnatural. This is some sort of other entity. Steve Forbes pops up over and over with his Forbes net worth. He's 74 now. Little guest appearances on TV and this and that. Just go away. Go away. What's this? When did Howie Long and Terry Bradshaw join Fox? In 94. 94. 104, 114, 124. Howie Long and Terry Bradshaw are pushing almost 30 years as these Fox analysts. 30 years. That is beyond stalled century. He's 73 years old, going into the studio. Any real person would he'd have enough of it. 10 years ago, he said, I'm out. Can't stop. It's the same themes over and over. But when we talk about this stuff, everybody, my Tony, and people they think we're crazy, that this is not normal. But then again, for those on the ship of fools in the river of insanity, this is what reality is. We're abnormal. Noticing that this shouldn't happen is abnormal. And then, of course, we have this script that Greg and I, we don't watch news. We don't, we're not aware of this. I guess we're the last to the party here. So that, I don't want to get any issues with any images or anything. Tom Brady, I guess, 3 months ago, he clearly retired to meet Greg and I. And I'm like, Greg, do you remember him retiring? Yep. Well, then he was going to do a big deal with Fox for $300 million, or he says when he retires he's going to do Fox. But now he's training to go back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for, what would it be, the 23rd season? 23rd season. You want to talk about the ultimate example of stalled century? It's like stalled century has to achieve certain things, reality itself. And it was almost like, Tom Brady, with you going to do something else, being an analyst in Fox, it's like we need you back here because every element of stalled century we can build back in, we need. So, we need you to go back to the Bucs. Did reality really call Tom Brady in that way and talk to him? No. Tom Brady's life, I don't know what that entity is. It's part of a gigantic script. How he was 22 years old in the league. That other quarterback from the Jets was born. And then 22 years later, they played each other. And the gematria surrounding Tom Brady. Tom Brady's life, whatever that entity is a gigantic script. So no, I don't think the reality says, Tom, get back in there because we need you as part of the stalled century theme. And Tom says, well, what's that? No, it's all part of a massive script. Those that participate or are part of the script, like Terry Bradshaw or Tom Brady, who knows what these things are, these portals? They're not aware of it, even in the way we're aware of it. You say to Tom Brady, your life is a script. He would have no idea what I'm talking about, in my opinion. He wouldn't be like, yeah, I know what you mean. When I stepped on that pentagram, they made me step on the pentagram. When I was drafted 6th, I swore to Satan that someday I'd make it to the top, and I gave myself away. I don't think there'd any a moment he could point to where he gave himself over to the pentagram. I just think this is just these characters. It really does support the notion of NPCs and those that talk about the 144,000. Maybe there are only a small number of real people here. But this is ridiculous. And these are just the tabs that Greg and I looked at. We could have probably done this for another hour. I think these 3 topics are linked, and there's some words should appear. Here they come. Come on now. What exists now that is stalled? Okay, what exists now is stalled out. Vanna White turning letters for 420 years. Kramer with booyah for pushing 20 years. What exists now is stalled out. But there's no doubt, per how this reality operates, or however it was hijacked, that is absolutely related to no new art, no new creativity in every area, no new music, no new whatever that we once looked forward to in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. They're related in some way. And if you have comments as to how they could be related, I haven't in any way bridged the gap. I just know they're related in some way. But it's also related to the destruction of the old. Every sport is being destroyed, and that includes the last sport that I picked up because there was nothing to watch during, quote, lockdown. I was tired of seeing 4 people in the stands all wearing masks. The NASCAR, I picked up NASCAR because just race cars that make a lot of noise, and you kind of forgot about the whole mask thing, and Greg was also a huge fan. That is, I don't want to get into NASCAR, but that actually is being destroyed now. Baseball's destroyed by electronic strike zone. Football was destroyed 15, 20 years ago with the introduction of replay, and nobody can go across the middle again without it being touch football. And, so all the sports, there's no more, how many times have we done this? So I'll be brief. What about Broadway? Whatever your thing is, it's destroyed. My thing is Broadway plays and shows. Oh, that's destroyed. There is no new Phantom of the Opera. You get a Lin-Manuel Miranda jumping around up there with founding fathers of that say they look like America looks like today. Blasphemy. So whatever your thing is, it's destroyed. It's fully destroyed. I'm just saying it's related. It must be related in some way to the stalled century and how can there be, in other words, in an era where everything is being destroyed, any sense of creativity or art, or even things like sporting events or the concert experience or whatever it may be. You can't, how could we possibly believe or expect new things to be good in an age of destruction? if the Kali Yuga demands the destruction of all that was once good, then who's going to expect the new Obi-Wan Kenobi series that came out a week ago, maybe on Disney Plus? I think it's out now. Who could ever expect that to be good when the whole phase we're in now is destruction? You're going to have a destruction phase in the middle of expecting the next Star Wars to be good? I mean, they have to put the Star Wars out. They have to make it look real or whatever it may be. But it certainly can't be good because it's an age of destruction. And it's not good enough. I'm not going to get into Star Wars either because you guys are tired of me talking about that. It's not about just producing bad movies now to go back and destroy the heritage or the lineage of the first three. They're going back in the releases of the first three and they're destroying the original. They won't even, they can't even get their greasy hands off the original. So they're adding first they added the dumb little CGI scenes to Star Wars A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. Things that did nothing but piss people off. Then they've changed like hand shot first or Guido shot first. They've changed that scene 3 or 4 times. It's where, now I believe the last time it was sent to me, it was, Guido yells out something like McGlinky or something weird. And Guido shoots first, like it's somehow politically incorrect in some way for Han to shoot first. There's no reason for any of this other than the destruction of it. Whenever social justice warrior themes, overly in-your-face diversity themes, things that just piss people off, like a Doctor Who that doesn't look like Doctor Who, whatever that may be, that is not, whenever that sort of theme invades your reality, it's part of the destruction of the old. I mean, the cover story is social justice warrior. What Tony says, the cover story is the liberals, Matt, don't you know the liberals have taken over too much of Hollywood? And the communists, there's a communist element, Matt, don't you know, that runs through Congress? That's just an excuse. That's an excuse so the normie can in some way comprehend what's going on at the fundamental metaphysical governing dynamics level of reality itself. It needs to be destroyed. The cover story as to why it's destroyed is social justice warrior, woke, and diversity themes. That's just a guise, a ruse. I don't appreciate your ruse, ma'am. My what? Your cunning attempt to trick me. I'm not renting here anymore. So I'm sorry if I've been all over the place. We'll just close on this image here. It could be Vanna White, Terry Bradshaw, any stalled century image I could have put up here. The main point of this presentation is I believe, and I'm very confident, these themes are all linked. Everything now stalled out. If Tom Brady goes to leave, bring him back. However this works, stall it out as long as possible. This does concern me to a degree, stalling it out, because it's like, well, what are they trying to get to by stalling it? It's almost like there's a finish line or some kind, but I'm not, trust me, guys, this ain't a fear channel. I'm not that concerned. Whatever could happen tomorrow, and I don't, by my heel, I don't care, because I know exactly who I am at this point. There is no fear at that point. So everything being stalled out is absolutely related to the destruction of all things that we once considered good. Greg sent me a YouTube video, the top 100 songs or 100 songs that came out in 1983. There's like 30 to 40 mega hits. Almost all 100 I knew, but 30 to 40 mega hits in one song with bands you could get excited about at the time. Def Leppard, Rock of Ages, U2. Of course, I'm not a fan of The Boner, but U2, New Year's Day, great song at the time. So this it doesn't exist now. Well, Matt, why doesn't it exist now? Because it can't exist now in this Kali Yuga destruction phase or whatever. It metaphysically, the beautiful art can't exist. If little pockets of real people created in their backyard, they can't stop that. The screen will never pick it up and give it to the masses. Well, Matt, that's a cop-out. That doesn't, but you just talk nonsense. I don't think anybody's going to get any closer. We're not going to be able to figure it out. It's okay as long as we realize what's happening. The great art and the great new things don't come because it can't come in this age. which is related to stalled century. So it's all connected in some way. It might be part of the hijack of what this reality is supposed to be. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We notice it. Your friends and family think you're crazy for noticing it, for noticing the things we do, and well, so be it. So what? I mean, I have a family reunion next week. I'm not going to go down there and start talking that Terry. Somebody might say, Matt, isn't it incredible? Terry Bradshaw's coming back for his 30th year or whatever it is. And I'm not going to say, yeah, let me talk to you about stalled century, Uncle Joe. I'm not going to do it. They're not going to look at me like it's not in any way stalled century for them because they're on the ship of fools. It's what it should be. It's normal. We're abnormal. But these entities, like I'm showing Terry Bradshaw now, they give themselves away. If anything were real, 15 years ago, Terry Bradshaw, his net worth would have been, I don't know, no big deal, $45 million. That's a lot. You can do most things in life if you, like if you have a bucket list or something, you could do most things with $45 million. If anything were real, it'd be like, it's been fun 15 years with you and Howie and, what's his name? The obnoxious Michael Strahan, they're all obnoxious. I don't like any of them. Michael Strahan comes in. He's probably paid $150,000 an episode, and he, I don't know, maybe says 2 sentences the whole halftime show, mostly just sits there. I'd like to be able to just sit on a chair for a half hour and make $150,000. But, he'd be like, it was fun with you guys. Jimmy Johnson, your hair hasn't moved in 15 years. I'm like, but I've had enough. A real person would say, I've got a place, in the Florida Keys or wherever, like I said, with Mitch McConnell. And yes, Mitch McConnell, we are seeing each other. But I just want to go enjoy that or enjoy part of the family, or it doesn't happen. And, Greg and I were like, whether it be Terry or Vanna turning the letters, we're like, if she wanted to leave 15 years ago, could she? And we don't know for sure, but we both kind of say, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Or maybe, again, if somebody's screaming at me, throwing the rubber ducky, saying, well, Matt, if it's the type of entity that you postulate, if that's even a word, they need the attention almost as the loose attention energy for their existence almost, or maybe literally, then they can't leave for reasons like the reason why you just can't take off 30 days from eating any food. That maybe that's why they can't leave. And well, if that's the case, that's the case. Either way, it exposes them as a different sort of entity than that you and I are. And it's funny, in all the superficial ways that nobody in our circles really give a shit anymore, the limelight, the autographs, the celebrity, the money, all the ways they seem like heroes, and we seem like losers compared to them. But again, we don't. That's not these aren't our metrics anymore. In all the ways that really count, they seem like the pathetic, or they are the pathetic losers in all the check boxes that count. And there's always one guy screaming out going, you guys just say that because you losers and you don't have the celebrity that Terry Bradshaw says. And you'll always find a way to rationalize to make your broke asses feel better. Nope. Everybody listening to me, I'm sure, shaking your head. In no way do we covet or have a jealousy towards what the celebrity or whatever these assholes have. I mean, you're a real person and you've gotten to where you need to be, where not only do you don't covet it, you don't want it. Could knock on my damn door and I wouldn't want it. I'll just give you the same example. I guess all the old guard, the people here believe me, but some people wouldn't. I've got these 4 cats I have. 3 are hardship cases. 2 were old girls, old gray ladies from the nursing home. 1 pees all over my house. 1 was unadoptable. Fifi Addie was unadoptable. She's totally come around, sitting on my lap now and everything, but completely unadoptable. I mean, she probably was a few weeks away from being put down, whatever. Somebody knock on my door, say, I'll give you $1 billion, even for the gray lady that pisses all over your house. No, thank you. And you don't believe me, you don't know me. And it's not just me. Any real person listening to this, for your cat or your whatever you have in your life that you find special, somebody knocks on the doors and offers $1 billion of the green stuff. Every one of us listening here would be like, no, sorry, not interested. I'll keep the gray lady that pees all over the house. And I think, if you're there, you're there. I think if you're not quite there, then you have some work to do. That's why I call these cats the BDCs, $1 billion cats. You don't believe me? Then don't believe me. I'll keep this cat that pees all over my house over $1 billion. What about $4 billion? Well, yeah. What's the damn difference? Thanks for listening.